TGC Requiem here. We're back with our fifth and final match for Shadow Abzan League. We're going to be on the draw. This seems decent. We're 3/4 of the way to turning Traverse on and have a Death Shadow, and we definitely have access to 6, 8, 10 points of damage to turn the Death Shadow on. Not a lot of interaction, but we're on the draw, so we could always draw into some as well. I think this is keepable. Our opponent's mulliganed as well, which tends to help us out here. Ooh, mulligan down to 5. Don't want to jinx ourselves, but I will say I've never 5-0'd a league while recording. Okay. So we win there. I'm just going to call that like a turn 5 win, since our opponent conceded there. But what I was going to say is, what I will do is, if I go undefeated, I'll open all the treasure chests I have in my collection right now, and go from there. Can we read anything in? I was just thinking, like, it'd be fun to make that kind of a thing. Like, I tried to do a treasure chest opening video one time, and didn't seem like it was all that, not necessarily enjoyable, but just not something that a lot of people were interested in. So, if more people are interested in the matches, then maybe it'd be fun to watch somebody open the treasure chests after they get 5-0s. So whenever I get 5-0s, my new thing will be I'll open all the treasure chests I've earned since my last 5-0. Granted, I've been opening a bunch in between now and my last 5-0, so I have fewer than I would if I had been sticking to this till now. Basically, our opponent conceded after mulliganing down because he didn't feel like he had a realistic chance of winning. And on top of not feeling like he had a realistic chance of winning, he didn't want to give up too much information on what he was playing. So this leads me to feel he's more likely on a combo deck. So I do feel like I may want to bring in the Collective Brutalities to help with that. And it's possible the Spell Bombs may be worthwhile, depending on the type of combo. I don't want to go overboard with adjusting our deck, but I actually am going to go ahead and bring in the Collective Brutalities. I'm going to pull probably 2 push to be on the safe side. Not the Inquisition. And then I am considering cutting one of the baubles for a Spell Bomb and one of the flayers for an ooze, just to hedge a little bit. Maybe a bit unnecessary here, maybe setting myself up to fail, but I don't see a whole lot of reason why you would concede after game 1, or before even playing a single card on game 1, unless you're really trying to hide something more combo centric. So I mean, it's possible the burn player, they might do the same sort of thing, but either way, we're gonna keep this hand another decent hand. Eldrazi and taxes, huh? So I don't think our sideboard plans hurt us necessarily, but we definitely have better things we can be doing. I was just going to say, I just hope it's Leonin Arbiter, because that card is going to wreck us. He's got a Flicker Wisp inbound. So we expect to see Dark Confidant here. Turn 2. Abrupt Decay will work wonderfully on that Aether Vial. We don't need to worry about the Dark Confidant, I don't believe. Well, no, I think we can count on the Liliana taking out the Dark Confidant. That's going to turn on our traverse. I don't know. Let me think about this. I guess let's see what we draw. We know he has a Flicker Wisp. Aether Vial can be really problematic in this matchup. Granted, sticking Liliana puts a lot of pressure to him to not be able to use Aether Vial at instant speed. And we definitely don't want him to be keeping up with us card advantage wise. So I actually think we're just gonna go ahead and Abrupt Decay him here on the Dark Confidant. We want to make sure he doesn't have that card advantage engine going. Liliana can kind of keep up with the creatures from there, I think. If he doesn't play the Flicker Wisp out immediately, then we can Thoughtseize that away. Play the Shadow instead. Yeah, so we're going to build a Thoughtseize Shadow. Oh man. I'm going to get a Thalia here. Tidehollow Scholar. That's a pretty good card. Fortunately, we have a pretty loaded hand. I would assume he's going to take the Liliana. Taking the Hand Disruption doesn't really do anything. He could take the Shadow. So actually I feel like we're almost set up now. It might be better to just jam Shadow. Well, no, we definitely want to take that Flicker Wisp away. Can't effectively attack in with the Tidehollow Scholar without making our Death Shadow bigger. Really just gotta hope he doesn't draw into a Eldrazi Displacer here. Thought Not Seer. Really need a removal spell here to get that Liliana back. Thoughtseize does us no good, save making our Shadow bigger. Which I don't know if that's a game we want to play right now against a deck who's one path away from closing us in two. At this point I think we're good to just sit. If we Thoughtseize, we make our Death Shadow bigger, we can Marsh Flats to make him even bigger still, but we're not attacking into this board. And again, we're, with this board, a path away from essentially being run out of the game in 2 turns. Alright, so that gives us a little gas here. We can consider being a little more aggressive with the Shadow now. we would happily trade for almost any of these creatures. Or to kill the Thought-Knot Seer or either of these creatures, knowing we still have the Tarmogoyf to hold the fort. I think the longer the game goes on, the wider he gets, the more problematic the combat becomes for us. I don't need to crack the Marsh Flats there if our opponent comes running at us. He's just making our shadow bigger for us. Excellent. We do run a little risk of, by waiting till our opponent's turn to fire off this Abrupt Decay, to get jabbed or nabbed with a yeah. So we're just gonna have to go after this Tide Hollow Sculler. He's gonna take the Liliana again. There's really no way for us to maneuver this any other way. So we're going to get our Liliana back, but then he's going to take it with the Tide Hollow Sculler, but we can't deal with him having access to our Abrupt Decay and 4 creatures, so... So now we're in a position where we can cast something after combat here if he blocks. So if we end up getting the Liliana or the Thought-Knot Seer back, we're in really good shape to make something happen. And we're again putting good pressure on our opponent. He's not in a position where he can attack back at us very effectively. We can actually scale our shadow up pretty well right now. In fact, it's even probably worth cracking to get him just a little bit bigger. Before we do this, let's think about this. He has a Shambling Vent, which can gain life. He has Aether Vial, which means he could end up flickering down Displacer, which would be highly problematic. I think we need to fire off Thoughtseize here, actually. And that puts us to 8 life. If he has... Let's think about this. If he has Flicker Wisp... Not Flicker Wisp. If he has Eldrazi Displacer, and he vials it in, he has 6 mana. He can flip all of our guys and get... Yeah, on our end step and get combat, or lethal in anyway. So I think we are safe to just go ahead and fire off the Thoughtseize. Just has a Caves. We couldn't attack with Death Shadow there and threaten lethal because we're all out of shocks. If our opponent knows our deck list, that's just a bad play. Opponent plays the caves we already knew about. Got access to 7 mana, so that really, again, the worst thing he could have here is some sort of... Okay, so this is good. We're just going to go ahead and attack with everything here. We want to force him to trigger the Aether Vial in case he has a Flicker Wisp, at which point we could kill the Tide Hollow Sculler if necessary. We want to force the double blocks here, though. So now the question is, do we want to actually force the Fatal Push before combat or not? I don't think we do. So this actually sets us up nicely to Fatal Push into Liliana. And then use Liliana to kill the Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, the opponent concedes. Ooh, alright, well that's my first 5-0 that I've recorded. So that, again, I've been cracking some packs because I didn't think about this as a fun little feature until recently. So let's see here real quick. That was a turn 9 win. That's fun to get a 5-0. So Eldrazi and taxes.